I have to ask, and I know you'll hate me for asking this. Final Fantasy 14. I recently obviously played the first A Realm Reborn.
Yeah.
And obviously I'm playing the game. And one thing that obviously stands out is that it that doesn't quite sound as polished as I'm trying to find the right words here.
It's okay.
Because I mean it in no offense.
No.
And obviously I'm playing this, and Final Fantasy 14 is a massive, very dedicated fan base. I mean, if you haven't played Final Fantasy 14, one thing that people have on their cards is that you can put like a little punch-in time for when you're going to be online.
Yeah.
Which is so, I mean, to me, that screams to the extent of how social and how...
It's like community to work.
Yeah. It's like I will be on these times. I'm going to raid here or I'll head down and hang out. Like it's a very, the fans are absolutely passionate about it. And the one thing that I just kept getting when I was playing it, because I'm streaming it, is that I promise this will get so much better in the next patch. And it's like, I'm 50 hours in. This is a full Final Fantasy game. And obviously, I know there's obviously only so much you can say about it. But I'd love to know maybe a bit about
what's the backstory?
What's the backstory about? as much as you can tell us. And obviously, I don't want to, I'm not trying to rock the boat or anything. Yeah. I think we've seen the amazing work. Love to know about maybe sometimes why it doesn't quite work out.
The journey, it was a journey. It was a journey. Like I mentioned, as well. It was, the 11 team decided to make a new online game. And so that was what 14 would be. We call it 1.0.
Yeah.
And it was, there were things that could have been done better. I think they tried to do a lot of things that had worked in Final Fantasy 11.
Yeah.
But maybe didn't realize that the world had kind of moved on and they thought that they could just do maybe the same things.
Right.
And so there are a lot of things that felt a little bit outdated.
Yeah.
The grind, some of the UI elements, level design, things that worked in the EverQuests and the Ultima Onlines and the Final Fantasy, and worked in the older generation, but weren't what people now expected, because in between FF11 and FF14, you have World of Warcraft that had now basically taken over and had basically set a new standard for how these MMOs were supposed to play out. Whether it quest progression, character progression, grind, things like that they had set a new standard. And 14 was content in maybe kind of playing it safe and doing the same thing that they did with FF11, while kind of making it powering up in areas such as like graphics or, but it didn't work out. The game was poorly optimized. There wasn't enough content. There was a little bit too much grind. And a lot of players were just like, this doesn't feel as clean as WoW does, because WoW lets you do all these things. Why can't we do these in 14? And so, the performance was bad. There was like characters weren't appearing. You could only get like 10 or 12, it's an MMO, but you only get like 10 or 12 people on screen at the same time. And there were things that needed to be, polished. And people were excited for it, but they were leaving it in droves. And I think the company was like, we say, okay, that's cut it, or we need to remake it into something that's better. And Yoshi P comes along and he's like, dude, this is an FF and it's a numbered FF. You can't cut this because that would be admitting defeat. You can admit defeat on maybe a smaller IP or whatever, like or something. He's like, this is Final Fantasy. You got to have your pride. We have to do this. And he came in and he just was like, okay. He came in with a plan. He came in with this massive plan of not only how to remake the game, but how to keep users engaged while we were remaking the game. So we have this, basically you split the team into two teams. The team that's working on the 1.0 version. Doing updates for more than a year to keep current players engaged, while in the background creating an entirely new game, A Realm Reborn, that's based off of this game, but it's going to be using a new engine, it's going to be using new assets, but have sort of the same story.
Story is complex.
The story is complex. And so and so you get, and ultimately, the two kind of merged together and they kind of resolved into it. But you have this team that created an MMO from the ground up in like a year and a half, which is absolutely crazy. When you think about it, games take like 5-6 years to make, and that they were able to do that while also updating the original game that now no longer exists. All that stuff, all that work that they did in that year is gone.
Wow.
It's like it's on YouTube. You can watch the cutscenes of it.
It's still one of the good, the greatest turnarounds in like gaming, really.
Yeah.
But to go from a panned game to kind of really finding its place and still being so relevant.
And I think it's just, you have someone like, Yoshida-san come in with this vision. And that's not to say that, the people that worked on the original version had no vision. They had a vision.
Yeah.
It's just that didn't end up working out.
Yeah.
And then Yoshida came in and understood what needed to happen. And he was, he came in and said like, okay, the first thing we need to do is we need to make it more like WoW, because WoW is what everyone expects. So that's our baseline. We get to the baseline, and then from there, we're going to expand on it.
Right,
but like getting 14 to the same level as WoW was the first step. And and then from there doing something new. Because I think a lot of times developers always want to do something different from the beginning because they have their pride as well. They don't want to be called like copycats.
Yeah.
But in this case, it's like, okay,
we got to get
to the baseline.
First, let's get to the baseline before we start making that
race right now.
and again, when he came on to the team, it's like his passion was so infectious that you could just, people were just like, oh my God, this guy, maybe he really can do. Because like, obviously he's like, oh, we're going to take this game and we're going to remake it in like, 18 months. And we're just like,
so you sure about that, bro?
Yeah. But that's the thing,
is
like,
a lot of sleepless nights.
A lot of us had already put in a lot of sleepless nights to get to 1.0. And when you work so hard on something and then only to see it kind of fail out of the gate, that is so soul crushing. Like, players will pick up a game, this fucking sucks. Or like the media will be like, oh, this is a terrible game. But like behind every review and every, there is like literally, the lives of 200 people or 300 people or 150 people or however many people on the team and their lives for like 5 years, pouring their souls into the game, and each of them having pride in what they did. And sometimes the parts don't fit, and sometimes, things fall. And so when Yoshi-P came in and said, I want to make sure that everything you did, all that blood, sweat, and tears that you put into that, we want to make sure that you get something from that the players know. And so we're going to make this good so that you can be, redeemed in that. And so we're just like, fuck yeah. And there was a lot of sleepless nights over those 18 months. Like it was absolutely crazy. It was absolutely crazy, but
worked out.
Turned it around.
Yeah.
When you were in the process of releasing it, was there any inclination, or you're like, people might not like this when it comes out, or you knew? Okay.
And the thing is,
the
it depends on what team you're on, but like localization, sound, and QA, we're basically at the end of the line.
So you get to see more of the complete picture, I suppose.
So a lot of times the battle team will only ever see battle. Or the environment team will only ever see the environments they create. They don't see it put together because they do their work early on. And by the time it's all put together, they're either moved off on another project or they're doing something else. Basically, the first people that see everything put together is localization, sound, and QA. And
so there might have been a moment where you're like,
so I'm having this moment.
Oh gosh.
And there were some people on the team that were like, that went to the dev teams and were like, no, you need to change this. This is going to be really bad. And like the dev team, people would get, again, it was a matter of how you say
and
it.
Also probably too late into the process.
And so it was just, you could see it. You could see kind of, the train is kind of going, the bridge is out, and you're just like, you're pulling the brakes, but you can do the math in your head and it's not going to make it. But you're still going like this.
Oh, that sounds awful.
But, it is what it was. And then, but having the opportunity, because most of the time it ends there. That's it. All of those people go home. They're either let go or they move on to the next project or the company goes under or whatever. We had the lucky situation that there was somebody that raised his hand. Yoshi-P came in and said, I'm going to change this. The company believed in that, gave him, the one chance to do it. And then he made sure that it happened. And
which is such a rare opportunity.
When does that happen?
It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen.
Well, I was going to say, like, Final Fantasy 14 is one of the very rare games where, you play a Realm Reborn and, a Realm Reborn feels old when you play it. And then you look at the newer content and it's almost a different game entirely. Because even from the localization standpoint, you're playing 14, you're like, this sounds, and it's an older experience. And then you see the new stuff, you're like, oh, wow. what is there? I can't think of another game that has the same characters, but a different voice for the same characters in the same game.
Right.
Like, I don't even know if that's ever been done.
I mean, it's crazy because like it was
That's, like, crazy.
The
It's unheard
beginning,
of.
in the beginning, like again, it was a very kind of rushed experience.
I mean,
to
absolutely,
get the
right.
game done.
Yeah,
And so
absolutely.
you make these decisions, you
Yeah.
choose these actors,
Yeah.
and then you realize, afterwards that like, okay, maybe this didn't work. Maybe we can do it a different way.
Yeah.
A lot of times, actors. I mean, the game has been going on for more than 10 years,
Yeah.
and so actors. They get old, actors get famous, actors decide they want to go off to Nepal and sit in a Buddhist temple for a year because they want to become one with nature. That's fine. There's lots of reasons, but people come and go. And so you have to do those changes. Like A Realm Reborn, the original was in 1.0, we had used actors in Hollywood because that's all we thought we had. That was the only option that we thought we had. We didn't think we had the option of recording in London, but we wanted to do British voices. That was the feedback that we got from the team. The team was like, well, we should do it like British voices, high fantasy. And so we're like, okay, but we have to do LA. So you go to LA and it's like, oh, we need British actors. Like, don't worry, we got you.
There's like three of them.
It was literally like the director's like, we got you, we got this. And they just brought in a bunch of American actors that did British accents. But again, and this is on me not understanding that these are not authentic accents.
Yeah.
I was just looking at the acting, and while the acting I think is solid in a lot like it's just the accents
Just
are like
doesn't quite line up.
it doesn't quite line up.
And obviously, as a native speaker, you clock immediately when someone says one word out of place. That's
Right.
like,
and that was the thing. And then we realized that afterwards. And then once A Realm Reborn did take off, and we're like, okay, we need to do this right. And so we made the decision from the next expansion to switch up our recording studio. We went from LA to London based.
That's so cool, though,
recast
that you
the
were able
actors.
to make that decision.
Yeah.
The game was still like the fans trusted Square enough to do that.
Yeah.
Like that's in any other game, I think that would be quite the
Massive risk.
That would be a
it was.
pretty
I
big
mean, it was a
risk.
massive risk when we did it as
Yeah.
well, but it was a matter of we knew from after A Realm Reborn, like, okay, this game is serious. It's going to last. We could kind of tell that we actually maybe did it. And so if we did it, then we need to be serious about it. We can't keep kind of trying to fool everyone with the British accents we're doing in LA. We need to do this properly. And so it was a question of, okay, if we do this, there's going to be a skip. People are going to notice that the voice changed. So do we either keep the consistency, but at a level that's maybe not as high as we want it? Or do we just kind of say, well, sorry about the jump, but at least it's way better now. And hope that the users understand that. And we decided that ultimately, because if we were thinking 10-year plan,
Long-term,
like
yeah.
Yoshi had, if we have a 10-year plan, then let's do it.
Yeah.
So what I want to know is like, was there a moment where you guys realized once A Realm Reborn came out that you're like, oh, we did it. We actually turned things around.
I mean, just like the player response, because we had seen the player response at launch, and everyone just kind of hammering it in reviews. Players being like, "I really expected this, but I didn't get that." And it was, but there were those fans that stuck with it. There are the fans that stuck with the 1.x series, and so they're playing the updated content, waiting because they know, in the wings, we've got this thing that's going to be coming out really soon, A Realm Reborn. And the thing is, Yoshi P was very open at that stage. So we still have the original version, but Yoshi P was like, okay, here's our roadmap. These are the things we're going to make. These are the things we're going to change. So everybody knew what was coming. And then seeing that leap, seeing people stick with the original version that was very, very clunky and very, very, unwieldy in lots of parts, but people loved it for whatever reason they loved it. And that's great. Because we put a lot of effort into that, and having their people be out there that really enjoyed it is good for us as well. But going from there and then launching A Realm Reborn and people being like, "Oh my God, you guys did it," and like having people say,
that's
you
cool.
did
That's
it.
pretty cool.
And but like they're going like, I had no expectations for this, and like a lot of people were like, "I'm gonna wait and see what the reaction is." And then the reaction is good. And they're like, I heard the reaction's good. Maybe I'll get in. Oh my God, it's a completely different game. Oh my God, this is really good. Oh my God, they did this and this and this, and it's updated and it's kind of snowballed. And it was a slow snowballing.
Cool.
Right.
But you get to the point where it's like, oh wow, people really do enjoy this now. And you have that original core group that stuck with 1.0, and they've now come over, and then you have the people that maybe didn't like this, and they've come over, and they're now all together, and it's loving it for different reasons. And I don't know, it was just, again, I think after hitting so low, that just any kind of positive feedback, especially after putting in, 18 months
and
of
the massive risk of having
literally going home, the last train almost every night for almost a year to get it there. But then seeing just the reaction is like, yes, this is what we wanted. And having people excited about it, that you're like, okay, this is, and then from there, the next expansion and people getting excited about the next expansion and just kind of seeing it snowball. And then, then it hits its stride at Shadowbringers and Endwalker, and people are just like,
it's cool seeing that like community event, even though I haven't played them and I don't play the expansions, but it's cool seeing how excited everyone gets for these expansions. They feel like big milestones. And it's just, I mean, Final Fantasy 14 fans are extremely dedicated.
Yeah.
One thing I've learned.
The most dedicated.
Very dedicated fans.
Wonderful.
I mean, they care. They care a lot about it. And again, when you get in the game, it's very easy to understand why, I feel like, because the social aspect of it is so strong, and the cosmetics, and you're like, okay, I can easily see why someone would get lost in this world. They've done such a good job at managing the gameplay, the story, and the social element of it. It's really cool. It's really awesome to see.
Ultimately, like that social element is what's so important to an MMO, because while you do have the content that you play together, a lot of times it's just spent, visiting somebody else's house, or it's like talking with your friends at a cafe. You're just talking with them in the game. You're still,
but we just get through the quests and they're like, go here,
having
go here.
That, and then sharing the experiences. We talked a little bit about the Primals concerts before. Like music concerts, when people go to music concerts, they'll hear the songs and everyone loves the songs. Like if it's like an Ed Sheeran concert or whatever, they all have like their memories of the first time they heard that song and why it's important to them. Maybe it was playing when they, broke up with their boyfriend. And so it means something powerful, but it's going to be different for every person. One person's experience with the song is going to be different from another person's experience with the song. So you're sharing Ed Sheeran, but you're not sharing that experience. With the Primals concerts, all of those songs are linked to a raid or a main scenario quest. So everyone has experienced the same thing. Everyone cried at this point because there's this emotional beat and this song plays and everyone cries, or everyone, spent, 8 hours fighting this guy and they finally on their 20th try defeated him, and that song was playing the whole time. And everyone has that experience. So you have a hall that's filled with 5,000-6,000 people that all have the shared emotional experience with that song. And so it's completely different. And I think that's what it is that like all the people in this Final Fantasy 14 world in Eorzea that are there in this community, they've all shared the same experiences. And so that's a stronger bond than just, than anything else, I think. And so that's why, and that just brings everyone together. And that's why everyone feels like, they're your brothers or sisters or whatever in arms.
Damn.
The philosophy of it is so cool.
Everything I know about 14, it just makes me want to get into it.
I've had to fight the Yoshida, because other than 11 and 14, I've pretty much played every single mainline Final Fantasy game, because it's just one of my favorite gaming series of all time. But the MMO aspect and the time sink of those games, because I know I'm going to be into those games, is the only thing that scares me as a 31-year-old adult that has other shit to do. But I've had so many of my friends just being like, so you're going to play 14, right?
I was speedrunning through, and also I want to ask who the hell keeps making me return to the Waking Sands, by the way. I want a conversation with this person. We got to talk. I am so sick of returning to the Waking Sands.
So sorry.
I pray tell to the Waking Sands. Shut up! I don't want to go back to the Waking Sands anymore.
I take no responsibility for Minfield.
Who do I have to talk to? I want to know which psychopath did this. It's like 40 hours to get through A Realm Reborn, and that's like kind of, and I'm playing this and everyone's like, yeah, that's the part you just got to get through. I'm like, there's no other game in history is there a 40-hour part where you got to get through.
Well, I think it's like we have been streamlining. We have added features recently.
It's changed a couple of times, right? Not just once.
Where they've cut out the amount of quests you have to do
in
the early game. So we've streamlined those early parts because they understand that, because that's a big thing, especially with an MMO that's been going on 10 years and you want to get new players in, but to tell them, okay, we have this new expansion that has all these wonderful areas, but you just have to play 200 hours before you can go there. That's not going to sell people to get it. And so, we are looking into ways, the team is always looking into ways. And with each expansion, we add new things that basically they cut down on the amount of time that you need to play those earlier quests. They've condensed them down into only the most important ones, and you can skip other things and streamline through that, so you can still see the story, still experience the characters and the emotional beats, but not have to put in as much time. The problem is that there's 10 years of content. So no matter how much you cut out, there's still going to be 10 years of content.
So and there's so many side quests as well. And,
yes.
And, you know, some of those are the most fun as well.